When we speak about change, most people imagine a sudden breakthrough, a dramatic shift, a lightning bolt moment where everything falls into place. But the truth is much simpler and at the same time, much deeper. Change always begins with awareness. Before you can move, before you can grow, before you can transform, you must first see. And this seeing is not about your physical eyes. It is about the inner vision, the recognition of your own patterns, the acknowledgement of your own state of being. Awareness is the first door, the threshold you must cross if you truly want life to change. The difficulty is that many people move through life asleep. They repeat the same cycles, driven by habits, fears, and unconscious patterns. They are unaware of why they feel empty, why they feel restless, why opportunities keep passing them by. And so long as they remain blind to themselves, nothing changes. You cannot fix what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot heal what you will not admit is broken. This is why awareness is not only the first step, it is the most critical. Once you shine light on a shadow, the shadow loses its power. Think about E.T. If you are lost in a dark room, you can walk in circles forever. But the moment you turn on the light, even if the room itself hasn't changed, your relationship to the room has. Now you see clearly. You see where you stand, where the obstacles are, and where the exit lies. Awareness doesn't immediately remove the challenge, but it gives you clarity, and clarity is liberation. Without clarity, you waste energy in confusion. With clarity, every step has direction. So how does this awareness emerge? Often it is born from discomfort. A moment when you realize you are tired of repeating the same mistakes, tired of carrying the same weight, tired of playing small, when something inside you knows you were made for more. Other times, awareness comes quietly. A single sentence you hear at the right moment, a conversation that stirs something inside, or even encountering a message, a sign, that feels as if it was directed to you and you alone. Life speaks in many ways, but only the aware will hear. And here lies the mystery. You are not listening to this by accident. You could be doing 100 other things right now, but you are here and this moment has called your attention. This is not coincidence. Awareness is awakening in you. A seed is being planted, and if you choose to nurture it, that seed has the power to grow into transformation beyond what you can currently imagine. But awareness is not enough on its own. Awareness without action is like waking up and refusing to rise from the bed. You must take the light you've been given and begin to move with it. Still, the first spark matters. Without it, there is no fire. Without awareness, there is no path. This is why I say awareness is the first door. You cannot step into change until you recognize where you are standing now. So I invite you to pause and reflect. Where in your life have you been asleep? What patterns have been guiding you without your conscious permission? Where do you feel the discomfort that signals something is off? Something is asking to change. Do not look away. Do not distract yourself. Instead, look with honesty. That moment of truth is the beginning of freedom. Because the moment you become aware, you have a choice. And choice is power. From awareness flows responsibility, and from responsibility flows transformation. Awareness is not the end, it is the beginning. But beginnings are sacred. They mark the opening of a door that was invisible until now. Remember this, nothing changes until you see. But once you see, nothing can remain the same. Awareness is both the spark and the invitation. And today that invitation is in front of you. Take it. Step through the door. Would you like me to now expand key point 2 in the same style so it flows directly after this one, like a seamless continuation of the speech? Once awareness has opened the door, the next challenge is not to close it again. Because awareness, if it is not nurtured, will fade. How many times have you had a moment of clarity, a powerful insight, a realization that something in your life needs to change, only to wake up the next day and slip back into the same routine? Awareness is fragile in its early stages, and without cultivation, it disappears. This is why the next step is commitment. Not commitment to perfection, not to doing everything at once, but commitment to staying awake. Awareness without commitment is like a flame exposed to the wind. It flickers and dies. But awareness with commitment becomes a steady fire, something that can withstand time and circumstance. This is the difference between people who change temporarily and those who transform permanently. Transformation does not happen because you had one powerful moment. It happens because you honored that moment and kept returning to it, kept reminding yourself of its importance, even when distractions try to pull you back. The truth is, your life is not shaped by what you know in one instant. It is shaped by what you choose consistently over time. Everyone has experienced moments of awakening, but not everyone chooses to walk forward with them. It is easier to go back to sleep. It is easier to live in old patterns, even if those patterns are painful, because at least they are familiar. But comfort zones are deceptive. They offer short-term ease and long-term regret. Commitment is the act of saying, I will no longer choose comfort over growth. I will no longer choose familiarity over freedom. And this commitment does not need to be loud or dramatic. It is quiet, steady, almost invisible to the outside world. It is the choice you make in the morning to start your day differently. It is the decision to pause before reacting in the same old way. It is the inner discipline of keeping a promise you made to yourself, even when no one else is watching. That is what commitment looks like. And that is what separates dreamers from doors, intention from reality. But let's be honest, commitment will test you. Life will challenge your resolve. The moment you say, if I will change, everything that resists change will rise within you. Old fears will whisper, old habits will tempt, old voices will tell you that you are wasting your time. This is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are moving. Resistance only appears when you are stepping out of the familiar. That is why commitment is not about removing resistance. It is about learning to keep walking despite it. One of the greatest misunderstandings people have about transformation is that they wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect clarity before they act. But motivation is unreliable. Commitment, on the other hand, does not depend on how you feel. Commitment is the deeper decision that even when you don't feel like it, you still honor the path you have chosen. And the beautiful thing is, once you commit and act, motivation often follows. It is in motion that momentum is created, not in waiting. Think of commitment as planting a tree. At first, it is just a seed, small and fragile. You water it, protect it, and for a long time, it looks like nothing is happening. But underneath the soil, roots are forming. Strength is building. And one day, what was invisible becomes visible. That is the nature of commitment. It transforms quietly at first, and then suddenly, it becomes undeniable. So I ask you, what is one thing you can commit to today? Not tomorrow, not someday, today. What is one small step, one practice, one change that honors the awareness you already have? Because awareness without commitment is wasted potential. But awareness with commitment becomes destiny. Remember, this commitment is not about how fast you go. It is about refusing to stop. And if you stay true, the path you begin today will not only change your life, it will shape the lives of everyone around you. Make the choice now. Commit to staying awake. Commitment is the foundation, but what gives it strength is alignment. When your daily actions, your inner values, and your deeper purpose are not in harmony, commitment becomes heavy, even exhausting. You can push forward for a while, but eventually the lack of alignment will drain you. This is why so many people begin journeys of self-improvement with enthusiasm, only to burn out. They are trying to build a life on actions that don't resonate with who they truly are. Alignment is the bridge between awareness and action. It ensures that what you are doing reflects who you want to become. Think about the times in your life when you felt deeply energized, not because the task was easy, but because it carried meaning. When effort feels purposeful, it stops being a burden and becomes a source of vitality. That is the power of alignment. When what you do is consistent with what you believe, you create flow. And when you live out of flow, even the challenges you face feel like opportunities rather than obstacles. The problem is, many people never stop to ask themselves whether they are truly aligned. They set goals that belong to someone else. They pursue achievements society told them to chase. They live by values they never consciously chose. And so they find themselves climbing ladders that lean against the wrong wall. This is why reflection is not optional. It is essential. Without reflection, you cannot know whether your commitments are supporting your soul or suffocating it. Alignment begins by asking simple but profound questions. What truly matters to me? What do I want my life to stand for? What kind of person do I want to be remembered as? These are not abstract questions. They are practical, because the answers will shape how you spend your days. Every action, every choice, every word you speak is either pulling you closer to alignment or pushing you further away from it. It is important to understand that alignment is not about perfection. You will not always live in harmony with your values. You will fall short, make mistakes, act from fear instead of wisdom. But alignment is not destroyed by failure. It is built by returning. What matters is the willingness to pause, to recognize when you are out of step, and to gently, firmly return to the path you have chosen. That act of returning again and again is what creates strength of character. There is also a deeper dimension here. Alignment is not only about your personal life. It is also about your role in the larger whole. A tree does not grow for itself. It grows in relationship to the forest, the soil, the sunlight. In the same way, your alignment is not just about personal happiness. It is about how your life contributes to others, how your presence shapes the space around you. When your values include compassion, integrity, service, and you live them consistently, you create resonance that others can feel. Your alignment becomes a gift, not only to yourself, but to the world. Of course, alignment requires courage. It is much easier to live by external expectations than to listen to the quiet voice within. The world will often reward conformity more than authenticity. But the cost of conformity is that you lose yourself. The reward of alignment, on the other hand, is that you live with integrity, with inner peace, with the knowledge that your life is coherent, that your words, your actions, your values, and your purpose are not in conflict, but in harmony. So ask yourself today, where in my life am I out of alignment? Where am I saying yes when I should be saying no? Where am I chasing what looks good rather than what feels true? These questions are not meant to create guilt, but clarity. And clarity is power. Remember this. Alignment is the fuel that transforms commitment into transformation. Without it, the journey feels heavy. With it, the journey becomes meaningful. And a meaningful journey is one you can sustain for a lifetime. Choose alignment, and your path will not only change, you will change with it. And that change will ripple far beyond you, into everything and everyone you touch. Clarity and alignment open the path, but what sustains that path is discipline. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many think it is about punishment, about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. But true discipline is not about self-cruelty, it is about self-respect. It is the structure that protects your deeper commitments from being washed away by the tides of distraction, laziness, or fear. Without discipline, even the most profound insights dissolve into nothing. With discipline, even small steps accumulate into a powerful transformation. Think of discipline as the invisible architecture of your life. You may not notice it directly, but it is shaping everything you do. If you have no structure, life becomes chaotic, reactive, pulled in 1,000 directions. But if you create clear practices, rituals that reflect your values, your life gains rhythm, stability, and strength. This is why in many traditions, from martial arts to meditation, discipline is the foundation of mastery. It is not talent that produces excellence. It is the willingness to repeat, to show up again and again, especially when the excitement fades. Most people quit not because they are incapable, but because they expect results without building discipline. They want change without the effort that sustains it. They want clarity without the patience to return to it every day. But you cannot reap what you have not sown. Transformation is not a single act. It is the steady accumulation of actions aligned with who you want to become. Discipline is what keeps those actions alive. The beauty of discipline is that it doesn't just create results. It creates freedom. At first, discipline may feel like limitation, but in reality it liberates you. Imagine someone who disciplines themselves to exercise regularly. At first, it seems like a constraint, but eventually that practice gives them freedom of health, strength, and energy. Or think of someone who disciplines their mind with meditation. The effort may seem restrictive at first, but over time it gives them freedom from anxiety, freedom from being controlled by every passing thought. This is the paradox. Discipline leads to freedom. Another dimension to discipline is that it trains the mind to stay present. Our culture thrives on distraction. Notifications, noise, endless tasks, they scatter attention until we no longer control where our mind goes. Discipline, however, gathers attention back to a single point. It says, this is what matters now. I choose to stay with it. And in that act, you reclaim your power. Because in the end, the quality of your life depends on the quality of your attention. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. Where your energy goes, your life unfolds. Discipline ensures that your attention and energy are not wasted, but invested where they bring meaning. Of course, there will be resistance. The mind does not like discipline. It prefers ease, comfort, distraction. It whispers, do it later. Just once won't matter. You can start tomorrow. And this is why discipline must be practiced like a muscle. You do not wait for motivation to strike. You build momentum through action. Small, consistent choices accumulate. And as you keep going, something remarkable happens. Discipline becomes identity. You no longer struggle to force yourself. You become the kind of person who naturally shows up, who keeps their word, who honors their commitments. And this is perhaps the greatest gift of discipline. It builds trust in yourself. Many people fail not because the world betrays them, but because they betray themselves. They say they will do something, but then they don't. Each time that happens, self-trust erodes. Discipline reverses this. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you rebuild that trust. And with trust comes confidence, stability, and inner strength. So ask yourself, what small act of discipline can I begin today that reflects my deeper values? It doesn't need to be dramatic. It only needs to be consistent. For it is not the size of the action that shapes you. It is the repetition. Never forget this. Discipline is the bridge between intention and transformation. Without it, life remains a dream. With it, life becomes reality. And reality, when shaped by discipline, becomes freedom. Clarity and alignment open the path. But what sustains that path is discipline. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many think it is about punishment, about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. But true discipline is not about self-cruelty. It is about self-respect. It is the structure that protects your deeper commitments from being washed away by the tides of distraction, laziness, or fear. Without discipline, even the most profound insights dissolve into nothing. With discipline, even small steps accumulate into a powerful transformation. Think of discipline as the invisible architecture of your life. You may not notice it directly, but it is shaping everything you do. If you have no structure, life becomes chaotic, reactive, pulled in 1,000 directions. But if you create clear practices, rituals that reflect your values, your life gains rhythm, stability, and strength. This is why in many traditions, from martial arts to meditation, discipline is the foundation of mastery. It is not talent that produces excellence. It is the willingness to repeat, to show up again and again, especially when the excitement fades. Most people quit not because they are incapable, but because they expect results without building discipline. They want change without the effort that sustains it. They want clarity without the patience to return to it every day. But you cannot reap what you have not sown. Transformation is not a single act. It is the steady accumulation of actions aligned with who you want to become. Discipline is what keeps those actions alive. The beauty of discipline is that it doesn't just create results. It creates freedom. At first, discipline may feel like limitation, but in reality it liberates you. Imagine someone who disciplines themselves to exercise regularly. At first, it seems like a constraint, but eventually that practice gives them freedom of health, strength, and energy. Or think of someone who disciplines their mind with meditation. The effort may seem restrictive at first, but over time it gives them freedom from anxiety, freedom from being controlled by every passing thought. This is the paradox. Discipline leads to freedom. Another dimension to discipline is that it trains the mind to stay present. Our culture thrives on distraction. Notifications, noise, endless tasks, they scatter attention until we no longer control where our mind goes. Discipline, however, gathers attention back to a single point. It says, this is what matters now. I choose to stay with it. And in that act, you reclaim your power. Because in the end, the quality of your life depends on the quality of your attention. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. Where your energy goes, your life unfolds. Discipline ensures that your attention and energy are not wasted, but invested where they bring meaning. Of course, there will be resistance. The mind does not like discipline. It prefers ease, comfort, distraction. It whispers, do it later. Just once won't matter. You can start tomorrow. And this is why discipline must be practiced like a muscle. You do not wait for motivation to strike. You build momentum through action. Small, consistent choices accumulate. And as you keep going, something remarkable happens. Discipline becomes identity. You no longer struggle to force yourself. You become the kind of person who naturally shows up, who keeps their word, who honors their commitments. And this is perhaps the greatest gift of discipline. It builds trust in yourself. Many people fail not because the world betrays them, but because they betray themselves. They say they will do something, but then they don't. Each time that happens, self-trust erodes. Discipline reverses this. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you rebuild that trust. And with trust comes confidence, stability, and inner strength. So ask yourself, what small act of discipline can I begin today that reflects my deeper values? It doesn't need to be dramatic. It only needs to be consistent. For it is not the size of the action that shapes you. It is the repetition. Never forget this. Discipline is the bridge between intention and transformation. Without it, life remains a dream. With it, life becomes reality. And reality, when shaped by discipline, becomes freedom. Discipline, as we explored, is the foundation that sustains transformation. But what gives discipline its direction is awareness of the inner obstacles that stand in the way. These obstacles are not always external. Often, they are deeply rooted within us, in our fears, our doubts, our unexamined habits, and the beliefs we carry about ourselves and the world. To move forward, you must confront not only what is outside, but also what is inside. Otherwise, discipline risks becoming rigid repetition rather than conscious growth. One of the greatest inner obstacles is fear. Fear hides itself in many forms. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of losing comfort, fear of uncertainty. Fear convinces us to stay small, to remain where we are, even when we know life is asking us to expand. Many people disguise fear as practicality. It's not the right time. I don't have the resources, maybe later. But if you listen carefully, you will notice that behind those excuses is the simple fear of stepping into the unknown. Fear is not the enemy. It is a messenger. It points directly at the place where growth is possible. If you run from it, you remain limited. If you face it, you discover your strength. Another obstacle is doubt. While fear says, you cannot, doubt whispers, you are not enough. Doubt erodes your confidence and leaves you paralyzed between choices. You may have experienced moments when you felt a clear calling, a deep sense of direction, only to have doubt creep in the next moment, questioning everything. This is the inner voice that demands certainty before action. But certainty never comes first. Action creates clarity. If you wait to be free from doubt before moving, you will never move. The antidote is not to silence doubt, but to act in spite of it. To let your steps speak louder than your hesitation. Habits, to form invisible chains. Much of what we do each day is not chosen consciously, but repeated automatically. Some habits support our growth, while others quietly drain our energy. If you wake up and immediately flood your mind with noise, messages, news, endless scrolling, you are shaping your attention without even noticing. These small, unconscious habits accumulate into a way of life. To confront them, you must pause and ask, does this habit reflect who I want to become? Awareness reveals which patterns nourish you and which ones must be broken. This requires honesty and courage, because the most dangerous habits are often the most comfortable. Beyond fear, doubt, and habit lies another obstacle: attachment. We cling to identities, roles, and possessions, believing they define us. But attachment creates suffering because life is constant change. When you hold too tightly to what must evolve, you resist the natural flow. Imagine holding water in your hand. The tighter you grip, the more it slips away. The same is true in life. Letting go does not mean losing. It means making space for what is greater to enter. When you release attachments, you create freedom, and with freedom comes the capacity to meet life openly, without fear of loss. The path, then, is not to eliminate obstacles, but to transform your relationship with them. Fear can become a guide, doubt can become fuel for deeper trust, habits can be reshaped into discipline, and attachments can be replaced with openness. Each obstacle, when approached with awareness, becomes a teacher. Life is not asking you to be free of challenges. It is asking you to face them consciously, and in doing so, to grow stronger, clearer, and freer. So the question is not whether you have obstacles. The question is how you will respond to them. Will you let them define your limits, or will you use them as stepping stones toward transformation? Remember this: what appears as a wall is often a doorway in disguise. Step toward it, and you may find that what once blocked your way becomes the very force that carries you forward. Your inner obstacles are not there to defeat you. They are there to reveal you. And once revealed, you are no longer bound by them. If we understand that obstacles are not meant to stop us but to shape us, then the next step is to recognize the importance of aligning our actions with purpose. Without purpose, even discipline becomes mechanical, even courage becomes misdirected. Purpose is what transforms effort into meaning. It is the invisible thread that connects our daily struggles with something greater, something that transcends comfort and temporary gain. Many people live with discipline, but not with purpose. They work hard, they endure difficulties, they keep moving, but without a clear sense of why, their strength begins to fade. Purpose gives direction to that strength and allows it to endure. But purpose is often misunderstood. It is not something you stumble upon one morning, like a hidden treasure waiting to be found. Purpose is not given. It is created. It is carved out of the choices you make, the values you live by, and the impact you choose to have on others. It emerges through reflection, through experience, and through an honest confrontation with yourself. Ask, what do I want my life to stand for? What do I wish to contribute to the people and the world around me? The answer does not need to be grand, but it must be true. A purpose can be as simple as living with integrity, or as vast as dedicating oneself to healing others, teaching, or building something that will last beyond one's lifetime. When you live without purpose, you are like a boat without a compass, pushed and pulled by the waves of circumstance, never quite knowing where you are headed. But when you live with purpose, even the storms of life cannot mislead you. The waves may throw you off course temporarily, but your direction remains unchanged. That is the power of alignment. It does not remove the storm, but it keeps you anchored in meaning. Purpose also gives resilience. Many people quit not because they lack strength, but because they lack a reason strong enough to sustain them when strength fails. Think of those moments in your life when you endured more than you thought possible. Whether it was pain, loss, or struggle, what carried you through was not comfort, but meaning. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and survivor of the concentration camps, once said, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." This is not philosophy. It is reality. When you have a reason that is greater than the discomfort becomes bearable. But purpose is not just for the hard times. It also sharpens the quality of your everyday life. With purpose, the smallest actions take on weight. Drinking a glass of water, speaking to a stranger, doing your work, all of these become infused with intention. Without purpose, the same actions feel empty, repetitive, meaningless. This is why so many people, despite having what they thought they wanted, feel unfulfilled. They pursued goals without aligning them with purpose. Success without purpose feels hollow. Failure with purpose, on the other hand, feels noble. And this is the final point. Purpose is not about you alone. If your purpose begins and ends with yourself, it will eventually collapse under the weight of your own desires. A true purpose reaches beyond the self. It extends into service, into contribution, into the realization that we are interconnected beings. The question is not only, what do I want from life? But also, what does life need from me? When you align your discipline, your courage, and even your struggles with that question, your existence becomes larger than your fears, larger than your obstacles. So I leave you with this thought: a life without purpose may be comfortable, but it will never be fulfilling. And a life with purpose may be demanding, but it will always be meaningful. The choice is yours, to drift through the waves or to steer your vessel with intention. Remember, storms will come, but if your direction is true, no storm can take away where you are headed.